This is an incredibly rare Mercedes E55 AMG wagon, which I spent £4,000 on, and it is in terrible condition. The rear arches are rusting. There's a horrible exhaust blow, which is causing a check engine light. The rear door won't open from the outside or the inside.
Help!
And it's got a whole load of suspension knocks. Today, we're stepping in to rescue this car from the brink of no return, tackling the issues we just mentioned, which will hopefully allow us to aim for over 600 horsepower in a future video. So, the first main issue we want to get rid of is the horrible sound from the exhaust and the check engine light, and that is caused by this. Supposedly, this cat was blowing, so the previous owner cut it open, gutted it, and then re-welded it up, but there's still a problem that's causing a horrible blowing noise. So we're gonna get rid of these. But not only do we want to restore this car, we want to make some more power next week. So we've got something up our sleeves to make this better. These, if you're an American, you know what these are. Long tube headers. The E55 AMG is choked in two main areas. Its intake, it's not big enough on the throttle body, which we'll sort, and its exhaust. The headers, they do not flow enough. So these long tube guys free up a whole load of power. Now, there are lots of reputable brands who make good versions of these. These are cheap ones off eBay. Chinese. These are your finest Chinesiums because they were the only thing that could arrive in time to work on this car.
Unfortunately, there is one major reason why this kit is going to become a massive problem for us.
That little silver round thing you can see there, that is the steering coupler. It comes from your steering wheel down to your steering rack to turn the wheel. Now, that doesn't sound like a big issue, but if you have a left-hand drive, which these headers were developed for, one side of them has lots of reliefs for it to be able to go around the steering rack. The other side doesn't. So I have a feeling once we have to try and get these on, there's gonna be a lot of heat, a lot of hammering, a lot of massaging, and then also the headers too. So, since this kit is for left-hand drive cars and ours is a right-hand drive, we'll end up spending hours trying to make these cheap headers fit. But for now, we had to remove the old exhaust, and as expected, it got off to a bad start. It seems that your hands... Has that just cracked? Oh no. I need that part. That's tough to see for me.
That is a toughie, that one.
That's really tough to see.
That's just not what you want to see from your exhaust.
At the beginning, middle, or end of the day, it's not what you want to see. With the first hiccup of the day behind us, I moved on to the second, getting the rest of the exhaust off, which had other plans. Oh! My finger was in the middle of that.
After what felt like hours of bashing and heating, the exhaust midsection finally came loose, but not before one last protest.
Oh, that's actually could be bleeding quite a lot.
That was this, just so everyone knows.
That was quite sharp. Quite sharp.
That attack from the E55 seemed to ignite a fire in Edwin, fueling him with the strength to finally tear the rest of the exhaust apart.
And it's as easy as that. And the good thing is, this also gives us access to the other problem this car has. This is called your prop shaft coupler. He couples your prop shaft to your diff. As you can see, he's not doing so well. That is one of the parts that we have to replace because the goal for this car is around about 600 horsepower. And I think if we send 600 horsepower through that, tough times are gonna happen for everyone. So now that we've got the exhaust out, we can also get access to this and change this out. Okay, we're gonna say that that back half of the exhaust, that was just a minor setback. Tis but a scratch. But I've got the O2 sensors out. Now what we now need to do is get access to the headers that are down here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from the top, because I think that's gonna be our best bet, which requires taking lots of stuff apart. Now, it's Mercedes, so everything's put together nicely. This should just pull out. Intact. What more can you expect for 220k miles? These are his charge coolers. So on Will's Jaguar, you'd remember each side of his supercharger, he had kind of chunky side bits. These are the equivalent on the Mercedes. They live up on the side here. But I think what I'm gonna do, take the coil packs out and the valve covers off. That's gonna let us get down there much easier. And then we can start removing these headers and hope and pray that the new ones go in well. Spoiler alert, they won't. So I got to work removing the old headers and quickly made a surprising discovery.
Is that? It's a light. Why would someone need a light?
That's just a mechanic's light. No word of a lie has been just tucked down the back of there. What I'm also seeing after I remove this light is this. That's just a pipe that goes somewhere.
Oh, that's nice. That's the first fix.
This simple fix made us happy, but something that made us sad recently is realizing that half of you have forgotten to subscribe. So make sure you do that right now and never miss another upload.
Now trying to access the headers from beneath, I made another discovery.
I was struggling to find a way to get my hand up in there to get these studs on the exhaust, and it turns out I'm just a clown. As always, we don't do enough preparation for this, and I just realised that I can take this guy off right here and remove it and then be able to get up there. If you're one of the Mercedes people shouting at your screen for the last 5 minutes going, "You can take that off!" I know now, I'm just an idiot.
After removing the cats and Y pipe, we finally gained access to the stock headers.
All of this is replaced by the new sections. So this guy, free to a good home, brackets, the bin. And voila, look at this fine piece of German engineering that is optimized for flow. This guy, straight out. This guy, out. It is a case of you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so why are these better than these? First of all, you might have heard the term long tube headers, or you might have heard equal length headers or manifold. So an equal length manifold, let's say that these were all the exact same length from here to here. Now these aren't, but what they do is essentially, as each of your piston goes up, it sends a pulse out of the exhaust, out of each cylinder. So if they're the exact same length, each pulse will come through the same distance before meeting at this end tube. Think of it in the motorway when there's merge and turn. Someone goes, the next guy goes. Someone goes, the next guy goes. It's all efficient. Whereas this guy, he's a bit like on the motorway when those clowns decide, no, we should all be in the same lane all the way until the end. And you wait. He's waiting in traffic to get out the exhaust. So the pulses aren't as efficient. Now, even though this isn't an equal length manifold, you can see that his path to there, they all collect at one down here. This collects down here. He's got some time to flow before they all collect. And what that means is something called scavenging. No need to get too deep into it, but essentially what that does is when the air comes rushing out of here, it creates a wind. Think about if a car flies past you mega fast, you'll feel it kind of suck you towards the car as it comes past you. So it does the same thing. That efficient flow coming out of here will help suck the new air fuel mixture in and make it feel a bit more efficient and open up the flow of the engine. So supposedly, these guys are 30% more efficient than those, which should help us open up a load more power when we stick some more supercharger pulley upgrades on, but that's for another video.
But the benefits of this new exhaust didn't stop there, as taking the OEM headers off seemed to have revealed the source of our exhaust leak.
That's the flange of this exhaust. He used to live on here. So I have a feeling this was our blow, because when we took these off, I couldn't actually see any blows in the cats. So I'm going to take off the other header on the other side, and then tomorrow morning we're going to get this all ready, waz him back in there. I'm excited. This is going to sound.
Now, we already knew that since our exhaust kit was designed for a left-hand drive car, it likely wouldn't fit on the driver's side due to the steering coupler being in the way.
After a test fit, we found that the column was the only thing stopping us, and disconnecting it would give us the space we needed. So I took some measurements and began reshaping the new header by heating it until glowing red, hitting it with a hammer, and then reoffering it to the car, making steady progress. Now, this method makes the exhaust not as effective and can cause the exhaust to get hotter in places, but it will still outperform the stock headers by a long way.
On paper, this sounded like a great plan, but we'd overlooked one key detail. This header was part of a very cheap aftermarket kit.
I can't actually hear much, but what I did hear was a swear word.
Yeah, something regrettable has happened. When you're trying to work with metal, you have to heat it up, otherwise it will crack. Perhaps like a cold piece of cheese, if you try and bend it, it's going to snap. Whereas if you heat up the cheese, he'll mold to whatever you want. Now, I was giving it as much heat as I genuinely physically could with the blowtorch, but we have a small crack there. So we're going to need to get that fixed. So I think we're probably going to have to cut a little section out, weld in a new piece. But it does mean we can weld in a piece that clears the exhaust.
This wasn't ideal at all, as any damage is bad news, but at least it would get us the exhaust set up properly, and in the meantime, we could tackle the prop coupling issue we mentioned earlier.
So, our donut, which doesn't have, as you can see, any cracks in it. We're gonna take the old one out, chuck the new one in, and we've got more of a chance of making power, and hopefully it doesn't end up like the Jag.
We engaged our finest teamwork, and before long, the prop shaft was free from the old cracked coupler.
Might not look that bad now, but if you give it a little bit of stress, that right there, not a recipe for a good time. So, out with this guy, in with the new one. Also, the February ones come with new bolts and nuts and washers. So that's very nice. Don't have to reuse any hardware. Stick this back in, and we should gain not any power, but some safety.
With one safety concern taken care of, it was time to move on to the next.
If you want to take any of your 6 extra passengers in the car, it might be nice for them to be able to get out. So what we need to try and do is get the door card on the inside of the door off to have a look at the mechanism, but we can't open the door to do that. I've read a forum post of a guy that said he spent 2.5 days getting the door open. So we're hoping that's not going to be the same for us.
How do you fix the door that's broken that needs the door card coming off without fixing the door?
It's a paradox.
After simply trying to force the door card off, we realised we needed to take a different approach.
So we tried alternate strategies, undoing the door bolts, custom fabricating a tool to remove the limiting strap, even simply cutting the strap, all to end up right back where we started.
Okay, well, I'll be honest, I got bored. There's our door handle. He's not pulling. So unfortunately, door card, you've served us well, but it's time. Went better than I expected, if I'm honest.
While Edwin wrestles with the rear door, I'm going to clear up his eyes because the headlights on the E55, they're not looking so good. Look how cloudy they look, and they've got this nasty sound to them. It's going to inhibit your vision. So I'm going to polish them up, see how they come up, and they should look much, much better.
I got to work polishing the faded headlights, bringing them back to the factory fresh condition. Meanwhile, Edwin was uncovering some surprises with the rear door.
Ooh, now that is interesting. I've just peeled this back and found some little shards of glass, implying that this window might have been smashed before. Someone maybe broke in, did something like that. That then means there's a good chance that this door has been apart before, which might be the reason why this doesn't want to sit itself back in, because something is broken or something has gone wrong. You can hear the lock when I pull this. You can hear it trying to engage but he can't. So the door lock works, the mechanism works, but the latch that lets go, that's probably our problem. Now Jay, behind the camera, has just made a very, very smart discovery. He said, what about the child lock on the other side? Now, if I engage the child lock over here, I can pull this, it will unlock the door, just like we thought it was working on this side, but then I can't open it from the inside. Only if someone opens it from the outside can we then carry on and unlock the child door. So what's potentially happened is that this door's outside lock, the handle that you use, broke. Someone pulled it open from the inside, because they could open the door from the inside, and then someone, while trying to fiddle and work out why, accidentally clicked the child lock on, locking it from both the inside and the outside. So next course of action is seeing if we can find a way to take apart this outside door handle and manually pull it, because I have a feeling Jay's right, the door's just going to pop straight open.
With our hypothesis in place, I spent the next hour trying every possible way to get this stubborn door handle to release, and finally, after what felt like endless hours of work,
we think we might. Oh, I think I just heard the child lock click off, which should in theory mean the interior door handle works.
You can get out.
Yes!
Well, well, well.
I'll be honest, I've made a mess in getting it off. Right, that is done. I'm pleased with that. We can order some parts and get that working.
Next up for the Merc is some brakes and suspension bits. We've obviously got this knock here, which we've got some parts for to replace. Before we get to that, we've also got the brakes as well. Now they are massive, massive brakes, but these discs are one of the things that we spotted that are not in a good place. Brakes have a sort of minimum thickness. This, I think, is well beyond where it really should be. This will probably fail an MOT, but we've got new brakes. So start taking this off and get the new stuff on.
So I got to work taking apart the old, worn-out discs and pads.
Now you probably noticed that these brakes are absolutely massive, and that is because this is an absolutely massive car that needs to stop quickly. Now these are 8-pot brakes. If you ever heard that before, that means it's got 8 pistons. We've got 4 on this side, 4 on this side. These are so big, in fact, that we've also got 4 brake pads on each side. So you've got 8 across the whole front axle, 2 here and 2 there. And then on the inside here, you can actually see the pistons. So we have to push those back to get the new pads in with the new discs as well. And there you go, big boys.
Will finished up removing the massive brake components, and then I jumped in to freshen up the wheel wells, before tackling the worn out suspension parts that were causing our annoying knocking sound.
The wheel bearing, he's on there, he's solid, he's nice. This wheel bearing, not only do we have the tie rod noise, which I've now removed, we're also going to have this making noise. The cool thing with these Mercedes is you can actually adjust the wheel bearing. All you have to do, take the cap off, you grab yourself an Allen key, you just loosen him off, there we go. And now this guy turns and tightens that up, and now, look at that, that's pretty cool. Now that is a very quick and free fix. However, our outer tie rod, not free, we need to replace that. And then I've just seen in here the little rubber bushing on our kind of drop link stabilizer. That's also perishing quite badly, so that might also be part of a knock here on the front left. So I'm going to replace that. This whole thing's going to be looking fresh.
Whilst I fought to remove the rubber bushing, Will got busy assembling the new brakes. Then we got a call from a local scrapyard about a similar Mercedes they had in stock, which had exactly the parts we needed to fix our door.
There is a local scrapyard that potentially has a silver E-Class in it that we can go and get the part off and see if it works on ours. So let's go and see if we can find one, because that can't run anymore.
So we dropped everything to head down there.
And when we arrived, Will devised an alternative and strange method to fix the car.
What if you just took the whole door? Wait, the door is different?
Of course it is. Look at the shape of it, Will.
With that, I left Will to ponder the different shapes of cars and got back to work stripping down the door at a very comfortable height. One of the guys at the scrapyard seemed to feel a bit sorry for me trying to work 8 foot in the air and offered to bring the car down to ground level. Now with access, I managed to grab all of the parts needed to finally fix this stubborn old door.
Right, we'll take the door latch because we know that one works. And then we're going to take the mechanism too. And there we go. The door mechanism. Is there a better way of doing it? I'm sure, but this is down the road. Potentially quite cheap. And also, just a nice afternoon out with the gang.
After Edwin had, unsurprisingly, found the only 2 E36s in the scrapyard, we headed back to the unit where he got to work stripping down the E55's door, ready to install the new parts.
Now, Edwin is working away on the E55, which would have been very expensive when it was new. Someone would have definitely financed this car. However, if you have ever financed a car, you might be owed some money.
Now, by now, most of you will probably have heard about the car finance mis-selling issue that's been all over the news.
And if you have ever had car finance, even if it was way back in 2007, you might be eligible to get some compensation.
Now, there are a few different ways that you can go about doing it. You can contact your lender yourself, you can submit a complaint through the Financial Ombudsman, or later this year there might be a redress scheme which automatically does it for you, but that's not guaranteed yet.
And even if it does happen, past FCA schemes like PPI don't always result in the highest payouts.
And that is where this week's sponsor, Reclaim 24/7, come in, because they offer a no-win, no-fee service that helps you start the claim process now, using their free online checker to track down all of your old finance agreements and help build a case on your behalf.
They work with regulated legal partners to make sure that your case gets proper attention. And by claiming now, you're putting yourself in the queue rather than waiting to see if you're ever contacted.
If you don't have time to dig through your old paperwork or you just want someone to do it for you, Reclaim 24/7 is a great place to start.
So hit the link in the description, see if you've got anything to claim and take it from there. No pressure at all, it's just a smart way to check if you're owed some money. Now back to that door.
After pouring hours into fixing what seemed like a simple issue, I finally got the new door mechanism in and it was time to find out if it had all been worth it.
Slam it shut. And then...
Oh wait, hold on, I might have pushed the lockdown. Yes! There we go, I just accidentally put the lockdown. That scared me. I thought I was doing that again. Go. Yes! A working door. That was £20 that cost to go and pull it, do it all ourselves. Also, we got a nice day out of it. Went around the scrapyard with the boys. I had a look on eBay for the actuator, it was about £30. For the mechanism, about 15, and then the door pull itself was about 20. So we've just saved ourselves 40 to 50 pounds and then fixed the door for it. I'm happy with that. So something I said in the beginning of the video that is a genuine issue with this car is the rust. This needs to be sorted properly for this car to carry on living. And I genuinely fully planned on having this done, but because of how quickly we film these episodes, every single body shop that I know I rung around and said, do you have time for it? They all said, are you joking? Absolutely not. So unfortunately, we're not going to have time to do this in this episode. Maybe down the line, this Mercedes will go off and have this done, but unfortunately his scabby past is going to stay for now.
With the door finally fixed, we got back to work refreshing the E55 suspension components. However, installing the new track rod ends wasn't quite going to plan.
They are sided, so this is the left side, that's the right side. Wrong sides, take them off, refit.
That's it, that's my final bolt. I was just done.
This was a simple but rather annoying mistake to make. So after swapping parts, we reinstalled everything, including our shiny new brake discs and pads.
Anything that could have been knocking has been replaced. We've got new brake discs, new brake pads, a new tie rod, a new drop link. So we should have got rid of our horrible knocking noise and it should hopefully drive much better than it did before.
The last job on our list before finally fixing the E55's exhaust was to give it a quick service, as we were sure it hadn't been done in a long time.
This car has 2 sump plugs, rather annoyingly. That's because the engine is massive. So we got a sump plug really awkwardly placed right here, and then we got a nice easy one to access back here.
And go.
That is hideously German.
That's so German.
The clearance there is perfection.
No, the oil will not touch.
With the old oil drained, we removed the oil filter, which seemed to confirm our suspicions that this old Merc hadn't been serviced in quite some time.
That is the sign of a filter collapsing in on itself. But luckily, there's nothing in between any of the filter elements, but he has started collapsing on himself. So good thing we're changing that.
With the new oil filter in, it was time to fill this old V8 with some fresh oil.
And as per usual, for all of the servicing items, we have been using Febby Bilstein and Blueprint parts. Now these are OE matching parts. It's what we always use, and we really do recommend it. They have a parts finder online. You sign up, put your number plate in, it'll come up with a list of what parts are available for your car. You can then search for them on eBay and buy them yourself.
Now that we'd fixed another issue and given this old Merc some much needed love, it was time to finally tackle the exhaust header issue once and for all. But of course, we immediately ran into another problem.
Right, so I took the exhaust manifold over to the guys at the exhaust company and said, I'm very sorry, I'm an idiot, but I had to hammer the absolute hell out of this. Could you help me? And so they've cut a little ridge along here and closed it up a little bit so that we can potentially make it fit. So I'm hoping and praying, because there's just not much space in here.
But unfortunately, the header still wouldn't fit.
That is still does not fit. It's hitting. If I put him up where he should be, he's just hitting on there. I've been fighting with this now for days, really. So I think the smart thing to do would be stop letting the idiot with a blowtorch and a hammer mess with it and take it to someone who actually understands exhausts and what to do. So I think let's go to the exhaust company with the car and they'll have a better idea.
The next morning, we headed over to the exhaust company, hoping that their expertise would be the key to finally resolving the issue we'd been battling for days.
Right, so everything that we've done on the Mercedes is now finished, apart from the exhaust. In one of the last clips, we brought the header over to the guys at the exhaust company and said, can you cut and weld a little bit and I'll come back in and see if I can make it fit. And it didn't fit.
It won't fit. It won't clear the steering column. We'll have to cut the runners off and reroute them.
Luckily, you guys are very good at what you do, so you've gone, yeah, no, we can still make it work.
So we've already cut off number 4 runner. As you can see, it goes bang in line with where the steering column comes through. So we're going to make that to go up and round rather than through.
With our plan in place, Luke pointed out the rather dismal job that I had done on the original exhaust runner, and then he got to work custom fabricating a new pipe that would be sure to prevent any further issues.
The process was pretty complicated. Luke tack welded a test pipe, offed it up to the car, then took it back to the bench for adjustments. It was a constant back and forth, repeating the process over and over until it was just right.
It took some time to get everything just right, but eventually the moment came to test whether the steering coupler was still fouling against the header or not.
Right, so you've made some progress on our terrible thing that we've brought you. What is it looking like so far?
So we've done the top runner, we've cut it off, we've made a new one, and we've given it as much clearance as we can around the old steering column. We're now going to test the steering, see if it goes side to side, make sure nothing hits.
Do you want me to spin the steering around while you have a
Yeah.
Thankfully, after all this work, we finally got some good news.
So, we're all clear on that?
This meant Luke could go ahead and properly weld the new pipe together, ultimately solving the issue that we'd been battling with throughout this entire video.
Right, so looking before and after, I mean, there's the before. And now, look at that. That's proper custom work. And you were mentioning, so this is the only one that I could get has this coating on it, the Ceratec coating on it. And you mentioned that's like an army-derived thing to stop heat, so it made your life a bit harder.
Yeah, it makes it a bit harder to clean off and weld through. We got there in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it looks lovely.
We got the freshly fabricated header in and it fit perfectly. Then there was one last very special thing that I needed to do.
Now, Luke is going to fix the exhaust. You might remember right at the beginning of this video when the exhaust decided to snap itself. He's going to fix that. But before that, open headers. You have to. Hey, maybe we get rid of those back boxes, man. We'll stick the exhaust back together, maybe have a toned down version of that, just a little bit less. But
The final step was to install the new Y-pipe, repair the cracked section, and then reinstall the back boxes. And with that, the E55's exhaust was finally complete.
Right, Luke, it's done. You weren't that happy when we came in this morning. I sense you're still not that happy with what we brought you, but it's all done. How would you rate the Chinese quality?
I'd rate it good if it was left-hand drive. Not very good if it's right-hand drive.
Yeah, so you had to do some proper custom fabricating to make that work.
Yeah, we had to cut that up quite a lot.
So if you're an E55 owner and you want to fit some long tube headers, come bother Luke, because he'll do it. He'll work out a way to make it happen.
After days of hard work, the E55's biggest issue was finally sorted. So we took it out on the road to hear it in all of its glory.
This car is far from perfect. It's still got the crusty arches. I think it's still got a bit of an exhaust blow. I need to tighten those up at some point. But from what the video started at, this car started as a breaker. And now there's no suspension knock. It rides nicely. The revs, the sound of the exhaust at the back, sounds good.
That's noise out the back.
That's noise from the back. That's no longer a weird, nasty blow from the front. It sounds great. And now I think this car is ready for 600 horsepower in the next episode. But more importantly, we will be taking both this car and what's left of Will's Jaguar to the Bicester Food and Fuel event, which we held on the 12th in just a few days. So make sure you grab some tickets, come down. There's a lot of cool cars coming. And we will see you next week where we tear down Will's engine and see if his Jag's savable at all.